In this forecast, a large and powerful storm system will bring severe weather to the United States with damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes, in addition to some very heavy rainfall that may cause significant flash flooding going through the weekend. We're going to look at your Father's Day weekend forecast in the middle of June and your tropical weather update at the end. Make sure if you're new here, subscribe to the channel first and foremost, so detailed weather breakdowns on this channel. Turn on post notifications so you're notified for future videos and live streams. Share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. And also leave a like, a thumbs up, so it gets this information, especially because severe weather's in the forecast, out to as many people as possible. Let's look at the severe weather forecast for today, Friday, June 6th. An enhanced risk of severe weather in southeast Colorado and southwestern Kansas. Also another area in eastern New Mexico into the Texas Panhandle around Lubbock as well. And notice this is very similar to yesterday. Slight risk extending through portions of Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Little Rock, over here into Paducah, Memphis, Tupelo, down into Huntsville and Florence, Chattanooga, Nashville, all the way up to Lexington, even as far east as Atlanta as we go through today could have the chance for some severe weather. The main hazards will be some very large hail, which could be up to baseball, if not softball size, back in southeast Colorado, southwest Kansas, eastern New Mexico, western Oklahoma, including the Oklahoma Panhandle, west Texas, including the Texas Panhandle, Amarillo, Woodward, Oklahoma, down to Lubbock. We could be seeing some really big hail today, baseball size to softball size, so make sure your cars are in a garage. And looking here at the wind threat, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds are most likely in the yellow shaded color. Also up there toward Boston and Hartford in the northeast, could be seeing the chance for some 60 mile per hour wind gusts today, and the tornado threat is really confined across the Mississippi Valley, but especially back in the southwest plains in the brown shaded color, southeastern Colorado, southwest Kansas, into the Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, and eastern New Mexico. That is a 5% chance of tornadoes in the green, extending east through Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Little Rock, Memphis, Nashville, all the way over to Paducah, and Bowling Green, we have a 2% chance of tornadoes as we go across the mid-Mississippi Valley today. A lot of storm energy down here into the Red River Valley, upwards to 4,000 joules per kilogram. So once the storms ignite this afternoon and evening, they will be going on through the overnight hours, as there is plenty of energy to go around and a lot of rotation in the atmosphere as well. This is your significant tornado parameter space. The higher the number, the more rotation there is in the atmosphere. Notice the numbers are pretty low here at the noon hour, but as we go into the 3 o'clock hour, we start to see those numbers increase off the dry line back there in West Texas and the Texas Panhandle, from Amarillo to Lubbock to Midland. And then as we go into the evening hours, the low-level jet starts to peak right around and then after sunset. So 6, 7, 8, and even 9 o'clock, that's when we're going to start to see those values peak at 12s out of 10. So a lot of rotation, and that will continue deep into the evening and even after midnight before starting to level off toward the 5, 6, and 7 a.m. time frame there on Saturday morning. Now here's what the simulated radar could look like. We got some showers and storms over here into Missouri near St. Louis, down there into Branson, even into portions of Jonesboro, Little Rock. Those should mostly be non-severe, and those will be still producing some beneficial rains over there. As we go to the 3 o'clock hour, notice again, not much happening. Maybe the cumulus field of clouds will start to grow off the dry line. And then by the time we hit 4 or 5 o'clock, boom, there we go. Supercells initially isolated. This is when the tornado threat is going to be formidable. This is when we could see baseball, softball size hail, in addition to some 60 to 70 mile per hour downburst winds from those storms. And then we go after 6 o'clock to 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Notice those storms start to congeal into a couple clusters. One down here near Lubbock and into Midland, approaching the Wichita Falls area, a couple clusters of supercells outside Denver, into areas like Lamar, Colorado, into areas of Dodge City, Kansas, into the Panhandle of Oklahoma. Again, very large hail, baseball to softball size, few tornadoes, and 60 to 70 mile per hour winds will be possible. Then we go into the midnight time frame, and we're still seeing supercells, this time approaching areas of Oklahoma City, Lawton, down there into Abilene, into areas of Wichita Falls, and we have another cluster up here into, say, Dodge City, Kansas, and approaching Wichita. So we're going to be keeping an eye on that. And then we see what we call a mesoscale convective system that just bring a lot of heavy rain, some damaging winds and hail primarily, with the potential of spin-up tornadoes on the leading edge here as these sink south across southern Kansas, Kansas and into northern Oklahoma, eventually reaching central Oklahoma to the OKC metro, into areas of Ardmore, over there into Fort Smith and Little Rock once we get to the 8 a.m. time frame on Saturday morning. And like we said, very heavy rainfall. This is a similar area that saw the complex last night, and we could see another 1 to 4 inches worth of rain on top of what we saw last night. So flash flooding will definitely be a problem here, especially in southern Kansas and northern Oklahoma, trailing over here into western Arkansas, where storms a little bit fewer and far between across West Texas into central Texas. That's where we could still see some heavy and torrential downpours with some localized flooding, but not as widespread as Oklahoma, Kansas, and Arkansas. Now, across the east and southeast, we have some scattered showers and storms as we go into the afternoon. Any one of these storm cells will be capable of producing 60, 70 mile per hour winds and some hail, primarily quarter size, maybe a brief spin-up tornado, but the tornado chance in the east here is less than 2%. Watching a little bit relatively higher coverage of storms up into Boston, Hartford there, and Providence into the northeast. That's where we could see maybe a line of storms approach as we go into the evening hours for Boston, and that could produce some severe weather. Now, going into tomorrow on Saturday, June 7th, slight risk of severe weather from North Texas and Oklahoma all the way east to the Carolinas. So we have another chance for scattered severe thunderstorms, primarily with 60 to 70 mile per hour damaging wind gusts, large hail, primarily quarter to $half size, especially down here toward the Red River Valley and into the lower Mississippi Valley, like Arkansas and Mississippi. And then right now, a broad brush 2% chance of tornadoes, pretty low, but still non-zero across the mid-Mississippi Valley, Tennessee Valley, back here into the Red River Valley. So a lot of valleys here, which tells you there's a lot of trees. So you're not going to see these tornadoes coming, even if they're during the day or at night. So make sure you have multiple ways to receive severe weather watches and warnings. So here we go tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. We got those ongoing storm clusters from late tonight into tomorrow morning, producing heavy rain, potentially some localized wind and hail, maybe an isolated tornado. And as we go through the noon hour, we're going to see that clear out, shove off further to the east toward the Mississippi River. So we're talking Pine Bluffs, Tupelo, those areas, Memphis, getting in on the thunderstorm activity. We're clearing out further west. Then we could see some isolated supercells try to develop late tomorrow night. These will be very isolated compared to what we see here tonight, but definitely something to watch out for there in the southern plains. A little bit more activity further to the east here as we go into Saturday. We got that ongoing cluster that'll move across Mississippi into Alabama. So Tupelo, Jackson, into Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Huntsville, and Florence. Those will press east into Atlanta, and then we'll have more storms in the evening developing behind that. Those could be severe as well, depending on the recovery of the atmosphere. Again, a few severe storms with 60 to 70 mile per hour winds, quarter-size hail, and an isolated tornado threat on Saturday. Then that leads us into the latter half of the weekend. Sunday, June 8th, we have another enhanced risk of severe weather. Look at familiar areas, Amarillo, Wichita, and into the Fort Worth area, with a slight risk extending up into Little Rock, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Branson, and St. Louis, and a slight risk over here in the Carolinas. So Raleigh, Norfolk, all the way down to Charleston, Myrtle Beach, and Savannah, Georgia, even to Montgomery, Alabama, keeping a very close eye on that for severe storms as we go into Sunday. The main risk on Sunday would be the potential of a long-lived mesoscale convective system, and otherwise known potentially as a derecho. This could produce widespread hurricane-force wind gusts, hail, and embedded tornadoes. So here we go Sunday morning, ongoing thunderstorms potentially from the Dallas-Fort Worth area eastward along the Arkansas-Louisiana state line. So Shreveport, Monroe, those areas, Pine Bluffs, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Going into the noon hour, things start to clear out. We start to recover our atmosphere, become more moist and unstable. Dew points will be rising, temperatures will be rising here, and then as we go into the late afternoon, we're going to watch supercells initially developing off the dry line back here into Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas Panhandle, so Dodge City down there to Woodward, Oklahoma, and Amarillo, and then we see a big cluster of storms congeal. And it will be a fast-moving mesoscale convective system, and this could turn into a derecho with the leading edge producing winds in excess of 80 miles per hour, potentially even producing large to very large hail and spin-up tornadoes along the leading edge. And this could cross through the Wichita Falls area, Oklahoma City, Lawton, Fort Sill, into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Paris, Texas, McKinney, all those areas, and maybe even to Tyler, Texas, as we go through Monday morning. Now, as we go into Monday, June 9th, we have a slight risk of severe weather over here in Shreveport, Monroe, Jackson, over into Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery, Mobile, those areas, Gulfport, Mississippi. Going to be keeping an eye on that for Monday. Right now on Sunday into Monday, we're watching a storm cluster ongoing across the deep south. An upper level low across southeastern Canada will bring a cold front down to to the south, and this will be the kind of the lifting mechanism for thunderstorms Monday afternoon once that cold front reaches the mid and lower Mississippi Valley. So areas of Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama want to be on high alert as we go into Monday, as we have that cold front coming through, peak daytime heating that could ignite some big thunderstorms. Overall, with all of the talking I've been doing with the severe weather, it's going to be a lot of rainfall out there across portions of the deep south and across the southeast. Looking here at the southern plains, Oklahoma, North Texas into Arkansas, 1 to 5 inches worth of rain is likely between now and the middle of next week on Wednesday, June 11th. We look across the southeast, very similar, maybe not as high, but potentially upwards to 3 inches of rain across a lot of Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, northwest Georgia, and then kind of sporadic rain across the Carolinas and into Virginia. Now let's look here at the height pattern as we go into the middle of June, and this basically shows a low pressure trough across the upper Midwest in blue and a ridge of high pressure in the orange and red across the Pacific Northwest. Well, we're going to hand off the pattern as we go into the middle of June with a ridge developing in the east, troughs in the west that will go up and over the apex of that ridge, and that is a ring of fire pattern, and that is a pattern we actually typically see during the middle of summer. That's going to bring a lot of instability up from the south, from the Gulf all the way up into the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and Ohio Valley, and that, my friends, could ignite actually some thunderstorm clusters off the northwest flow as our jet stream is much more further to the north along the U.S.-Canadian border. Thunderstorm complexes will develop into the Dakotas, Minnesota, and then ride the instability gradient south and eastward into Minnesota, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and those could produce the potential for derechos as well. Again, a long-lived, fast-moving thunderstorm cluster, hurricane-force wind gusts, hail, and tornadoes, and of course some torrential rain and flooding along the way with that. And the ensemble models are picking up on that with the northwest flow from southern Canada into the northern U.S. with still a little bit of a resemblance of some tropical weather, potentially near the Gulf Coast later into June as well. Let's look at our temperatures. Very hot today across the deep south, especially South Texas in the low 100s. 102 in Phoenix. As we go into tomorrow on Saturday, much of the same, maybe actually a little warmer in central Texas, approaching 100. Comfortable up into the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, Ohio Valley, and Northeast. Temperatures will be in the 60s and 70s. We'll get a touch warmer across the mid-Mississippi Valley on Sunday into the mid-80s, but look at the record highs building across the West. Washington State, Oregon, Nevada, and California, the Sacramento Valley there, getting into the 90s and 100s. Record heat from Houston back there toward Austin and San Antonio, near 100 as we go into Sunday, June 8th. And then going into next week, just a lot of heat starting to build with that ridge as it builds further east in the United States. 80s will be more likely in the plains and in the Mississippi Valley. And let's look here at the tropical weather updates. 2 areas that we're watching here, and at least the National Hurricane Center is watching in the East Pacific Ocean, with a 70 and 80% chance, respectively, of tropical depression, tropical storm, or hurricane development over the next 7 days. And on the Atlantic side, the good news is the National Hurricane Center is not expecting any tropical cyclone activity over the next 7 days, so it is A-OK right now in the Atlantic, the Caribbean, and the Gulf of as well. So thank you all for watching. I definitely appreciate it. Like the video, give it a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe to the channel as we do daily weather forecast breakdown. Share it with a friend, family member, and on social media, and turn on post notifications so you are notified for future videos and live streams. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of their day out there.